One of the biggest misconceptions in today's social media culture is how people view gifters, creators, and the dynamic between the two. Most people simplify it into something easy to judge. Either gifters are buying attention, or creators are just making easy money. But the reality is far more complex than that, and reducing it down to those assumptions completely ignores what's actually happening beneath the surface. Because this isn't just about money. It's about human behavior, emotional connection, validation, influence, pressure, and in some cases, manipulation. Social media has created a system where support is not only visible, but measurable and often tied directly to how people are treated. When you combine visibility with human emotion, it creates an environment where actions start to carry deeper meaning than they would in any other setting. From the outside looking in, gifting appears transactional. Someone sends support, a creator reacts, and attention is given. That's all most people see. But what they don't see is the emotional layer underneath it. The reasons why people choose to give, why they return to the same creators, and why those interactions begin to feel more personal over time. From the gifter's perspective, giving is rarely just about the act itself. It's about what it represents. For some, it's appreciation for content that consistently entertains or provides an escape from everyday stress. For others, it's about feeling part of something, being included in a space where they feel seen, acknowledged, or even understood. And there's a deeper truth that often gets overlooked. Loneliness plays a role in this more than people want to admit. Not everyone has strong connections in their daily life. Not everyone has a space where they feel valued or heard. So when they find a creator or a community that gives them even a small sense of that, it can feel significant. And when gifting brings recognition in that space, it reinforces that feeling. That doesn't make someone weak. That makes them human. But this is where things begin to shift. Because when recognition becomes tied to giving, it can slowly change how people view their own value within that space. When gifting is highlighted, top supporters, rankings, shout-outs, it creates an unspoken system. And in that system, it can start to feel like giving more equals being more valued. Even if no one directly says it, people feel it. A gifter may start out supporting freely, but over time they may feel like they have to maintain a certain level to keep their place, their recognition, or their connection. What started as a choice becomes something that feels expected. And when something that's supposed to be genuine starts to feel like an obligation, that's when it becomes unhealthy. Now from the creator's perspective, there's another side that people don't fully understand. Being a creator, especially one who receives support, is not as simple as just showing up. It takes consistency, effort, time, and often emotional energy to keep people engaged. For many creators, this is more than a hobby. It's income, stability, and in some cases, survival. So when support comes in, it can feel like validation, like proof that what they're doing matters. And over time, that support can become something they depend on, not just financially, but emotionally. But this is where the shift can happen on their side too. Because for some creators, support stops feeling like appreciation and starts feeling like something they're owed. No matter how much comes in, it's never enough. What used to feel exciting becomes normal. What was once appreciated becomes expected. And when expectations rise faster than reality can meet them, frustration starts to build. That's when you start seeing the outbursts. Creators getting irritated when gifts slow down, making comments about lack of support, questioning loyalty, comparing supporters, creating tension in the room when people aren't giving the way they used to. And sometimes it's subtle, but other times it's direct. They lash out. Not always aggressively, but enough to make people feel it. Enough to make viewers uncomfortable. Enough to make people who can't gift feel guilty for something that's completely outside of their control. And that's where the line gets crossed. Because no one owes a creator anything. Not money. Not gifts. Not consistency and support. People have real lives, bills, responsibilities, families, unexpected hardships. Just because someone supported yesterday doesn't mean they're in a position to support today. And the moment a creator loses sight of that and starts lashing out, they've shifted from appreciation into entitlement. And entitlement is where the damage really begins. But it goes even deeper than that. There are creators who don't just fall into entitlement, they actively build systems around it. They learn what triggers people to give. They study behavior. They create environments where certain people feel more important than others based on what they contribute. They may give extra attention, create inside jokes, or build what feels like a closer, more personal connection with top supporters. And this is where one of the most harmful dynamics comes into play. The illusion of a real relationship. Some creators go even further. They don't just engage more, they pretend to like someone more than they actually do, because they know it will increase gifting. They mirror personalities, they create emotional closeness, they say things that imply a deeper connection, and they make that person feel chosen. Not because it's genuine, but because it's effective. And for the person on the receiving end, it doesn't feel like a tactic. It feels real. It feels personal. It feels like something earned. But in reality, it's being managed. Some creators build what feels like genuine, personal relationships with their gifters, but only as long as those gifters are giving. They make them feel seen, valued, different from everyone else. They engage more, talk more, respond more. And for the gifter, it feels real. It feels like something beyond just a creator and a viewer. But the moment the gifting slows down, everything changes. The attention fades. The energy shifts. And in some of the worst cases, it doesn't just fade, it flips. The same person who once received attention, kindness, and what felt like genuine connection can suddenly face coldness, dismissal, or even harsh public put-downs. Comments that belittle them, question their worth, or make them feel like they were only ever useful when they were giving. That's not just a shift, that's a reveal. Because now it's clear the connection was never unconditional. It was tied to what you could provide. And those moments don't just stay on the screen. There are people who have lost real things chasing that connection. Money they couldn't afford to give, falling behind on bills, losing savings, damaging relationships in their real life, even risking their homes, their cars, their stability, all for something they believed was real. And when it all catches up, when the money is gone, when reality hits, and when the connection they thought they had disappears or turns into rejection, it can leave people in a very dark place. A place of regret, a place of embarrassment, a place where they feel used, alone, and sometimes even hopeless. There are people who have reached a point where the emotional and financial damage becomes so heavy, they start having thoughts of harming themselves. And that's something that cannot be ignored or brushed off. Because at that point, this isn't just about social media anymore. This is about real-life consequences. And that's why awareness matters so much. Because not every space is built on genuine connection. Some are built on pressure, expectation, and the quiet understanding that giving equals value. And once you're in that kind of environment, it can be hard to separate what's real from what's reinforced. A healthy environment doesn't make people feel like they have to give to belong. It doesn't create guilt when people can't support. It doesn't build relationships that disappear or turn hostile the moment the money does. It values people, regardless of what they give. A direct message to the gifters. If you're someone who gives, take a moment and really sit with this. You are not your gifts. You are not your ability to provide. And your worth does not increase or decrease based on what you send. If someone only treats you like you matter when you're giving, then they don't value you. They value what you provide. And if you've ever gone too far, if you've given more than you should have, if you've put yourself in a difficult position financially, or if you've felt that drop when something you thought was real turned out not to be, you are not alone. But you also need to understand this. Nothing on a screen is worth losing your real life over. Not your stability, not your home, not your peace, and definitely not your life. If you ever find yourself in a place where this has gone too far, where you're struggling, where you feel regret, or where your thoughts are getting dark, please don't sit in that alone. Talk to someone. Step away. Get grounded back in what's real. Because your life has value far beyond anything that happens on a platform. Pay attention to how people treat you when you're not giving. That will always show you the truth. Set boundaries. Know your limits. And don't let a digital space convince you that your place in it depends on what you can afford. Because your value was never tied to that in the first place. Final thought. Social media has created a system where attention, connection, and money are all intertwined. And that combination can either build something real or something deeply unhealthy. There are creators who build genuine communities, and there are creators who build systems designed to keep people giving, through pressure, through illusion, and sometimes through relationships that were never real to begin with. And one of the clearest truths in all of this is revealed when the giving stops. Because that's when you find out what was real, and what was only maintained as long as you were providing something. But no moment of attention, no feeling of connection, and no recognition is worth losing yourself over. Not financially, not emotionally, and not mentally. So move with awareness. Protect your boundaries, and never let a temporary connection cost you something permanent, especially your well-being. Thank you for your time. Till next time.